Hello, I'm Byron Connolly, Head of Programs and Value Engagement at Adapt, and welcome to the first instalment of A Day in the Life of a CIO, where we talk to leading C-level tech and cyber executives about what their typical day looks like, the key transformation projects they're working on, the challenges that arise and how they deal with them, and what really makes them tick. Today, I'm joined by Hani Arab, who's the Chief Information Officer at construction company Seymour Whyte, a new role for Hani. I think you've been there 3 weeks, Hani, haven't you? Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. It's been very good. Thank you. Yeah, delighted to be here.
No problem. Glad to have you. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your new role? How big is your team? Who do you report to, and what are your key responsibilities?
Sure. Look, currently my team's around 13 members across IT support, infrastructure, and applications. I report to the CEO, and I'm a member of the executive leadership team. The role is newly formed, so the CIO is new to this organisation, and it was spun out of a decision made by the ELT to lift ICT capability and become more of a critical partner and advisor to the support functions and operational teams. So my initial focus is around determining the current state, formulate a strategic roadmap that supports and enables the delivery of our strategic goals. At Seymour Whyte, our purpose is people creating infrastructure smarter. And with that in mind, I see technology as a critical enabler.
Absolutely. Now, you did spend 8 years. You've come across from AssetLink. You had a really good tenure there. I want to talk a little bit about how hard CIOs are working at the moment. Adapt's research has found that 58% of Australian CIOs are working 50 to 60 hours a week, and 8% are working a whopping 70 or 80 hours a week, which seems like a tough gig. Do you feel that you're working harder than ever before? If so, why?
Yeah, look, I think that question is not as straightforward as it seems to be for me. For example, when you associate harder, if you associate that with the time dimension, meaning harder is longer, for me, then the answer is no. My younger version of myself would have said yes. Today, I've learned to focus my energy, meaning cognitive power, to high value tasks. The saying, work smarter, not harder, definitely holds true. This is not to say that there hasn't been times where I've had to work all weekend to deliver an outcome or a time frame, but this happens at my discretion, and I try not to make that a normal practice.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a very good thing, because it doesn't, working longer hours doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting more done. Now, also, our research has found over the last 12 months that Australian CEOs spend half their day running their own function or business, and that's to be expected. Quarter are collaborating with colleagues, 14% are working with external partners and customers, and 12% are managing enterprise business capabilities. Can you talk a little bit about what your average day, I mean, you've only been there for 3 weeks, but what your average day is going to look like over the coming weeks and months, and some of the key initiatives that you're going to be working on?
Absolutely. Look, been doing it for a little while. So what I've developed in my own practices is I don't like to micromanage. I like to endorse and encourage empowerment. So me, with this new role, is initially starting off with a high-level focus and time effort around strategy development and execution. Then probably 25% around relationship development and marketing the ICT capability. And then another 25% on team culture, purpose and direction. And then I leave a small amount of time, about 10% at the moment, for myself and personal development and reading time, things for me to look after my own mental and well-being so I can perform the best that I can for this organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wanted to go on to CEOs are finding that they have new responsibilities in areas like helping to drive revenue and profitability these days, and even improving customer experience, which is very different to, but certainly a change to keeping the lights on. How have your responsibilities changed over time, Hani? I mean, what initiatives are you helping to drive now that perhaps you didn't have any involvement in previously?
Definitely. I think CIOs or technology leaders in organizations are definitely involved more with customer-facing type challenges. And so understanding the user experience and owning the entire challenge or problem end-to-end is becoming the norm. So using human-centered design sort of philosophies to understand how we're solving a problem, not just filtering through the technology out there and adopting something that we think will fix a problem, but really understanding the business that we're in, so we can devise a solution that's holistic.
Hmm. Are there any specific technologies you're going to be focusing on sort of in the coming months and the next couple of years? I mean, are you going to be focusing very much on cyber? How much of an issue is that for you at the moment? Things like getting your data right, getting your data clean, and making sure that it can be used. Maybe even creating ecosystems with your partners there. API-enabled ecosystems. A lot of companies are doing these days. Now, construction has been, I guess, historically somewhat behind in terms of compared to other industries around the adoption of technology. What are you going to be focusing on specifically? Which areas?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Predominantly or historically, there has been this understanding by senior construction leaders that we're here to build infrastructure, and then necessarily may have not accepted the level of technology enablement that can be achieved. Yes, we do elements of good technology around BIM, digital twins, and sort of AutoCAD and 3D modeling and those sort of things. But we have a great opportunity to do a lot more with it. And so, at the maturity level that we're at the moment, definitely we're in around modernizing IT. We want to move all our on-premise workloads to the cloud. We want to redevelop our business applications in some sort of platform that allows us to scale and ensure the sustainability of those applications, that they remain fit for purpose. So I think there's some elements. When you talk about cyber, absolutely, it's on the radar of all the LT and board members. And so we have good pockets of cyber hygiene, and I want to ensure that understanding across the entire business is reinforced and grows. So there's a consistent level of effort going into our cyber hygiene.
Capabilities for sure. It's interesting you mentioned modernizing IT there. Adapt has created a maturity benchmarking tool and modernization roadmap called the Exponential Value Roadmap. And it helps organizations assess their business maturity, identify gaps, see where they stand against their peers, and importantly, get a view of where to allocate their resources. Modernized IT is where most organizations fall. That's a category most organizations fall into here in Australia. I mean, they're running efficient IT and flexible IT, but they're just doing enough. There's a second group, and they're connected businesses. They're digitally savvy organizations that use data and automation and dashboards to provide a lot of visibility and better customer experiences. And the top group, and there's only a small, comparatively small number of organizations in that group, are exponential enterprises. And they're high-performing companies that are generating responsible growth and consistent, sustainable value for not only their staff, but customers, ecosystems, and the wider society. So I guess it's no surprise that you're in that modernized IT section, but there's plenty of work to be done, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, we are definitely in the modernized IT category, but it's really motivating because I can envision what can be done, and that's exciting. And so the fact that we're slightly under mature in some elements just gives me that great invigoration to go, I can lead this organization to grow and develop and mature and create greater value from the IT function.
Yep, for sure. Now, Hani, do you have any advice for vendors who are approaching you with their wares? I mean, what are they doing wrong in your view, and what are they doing right, and why?
Yeah, look, I suppose over the years I've seen how vendors can engage successfully and some that don't do it very successfully. And I think the key element is that the vendor, the BDM or the account executive, needs to spend the time and understand the business that they're approaching, understand the business challenges, the industry that they're working in, and basically using their wares and technologies to develop and convey a value proposition that any sane person can't resist or can't reject because it's so obvious, and they demonstrate that they understand our business.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a lot of time these days to evaluate new technologies and vendors? Because there is a lot of stuff out there. I mean, do you wish you had more time to do these evaluations?
Look, I think there's never enough time, right? Because depending on the level of due diligence, how detailed you want to get, you can be consumed forever. And hence why I try to leverage my industry contacts, and I'll find out other people who are using that vendor or similar vendors, and just basically try to get an honest, unbiased discussion going around, what is good, what is not so good. And it just gives me a greater level of confidence that what I'm hearing, I can take on face value, and it just gives me that gap that allows me to go commit to something that I might still be uncertain about.
Yeah.
So I think that's valuable to have.